Compassion is the wish to free others from suffering. It means offering food to those who are hungry, comfort to those who are in fear, medicine to those who are ill, and a blanket to those who are cold. But what if an entire community faces enormous hardship? When a population is at risk of losing that which gives meaning to their lives, it is time for a creative response, one that calls on the wisdom of both the head and the heart. The Tibetan people have faced great hardship. Over the last 50 years, millions of Tibetans have been killed or imprisoned. Their natural resources have been plundered. And the greatest achievements of Tibetan civilization, their great monasteries, universities, and libraries, have been systematically destroyed. Without the caring and compassion of strangers, Tibet will cease to exist as one of the world's great cultures and wisdom traditions. Hundreds of thousands of Tibetans have fled their homeland, pouring into India and Nepal. As they have made the treacherous journey over high mountain passes, many have carried precious books and religious treasures on their backs rather than food, despite the risk of starvation. Valuing their spiritual heritage over their own safety, they've carried with them the seeds of knowledge that could allow their culture to flourish in a new land. These were the refugees to whom the Tibetan Aid Project first sent food, blankets, and shoes starting in 1969. It was founded by Tartang Tulku, a Tibetan Lama who was himself a refugee. Knowing the value of Tibet's written heritage and the sacrifices that had been made to protect it, he also set up a printing press to help preserve the sacred texts for which so many had risked their lives. Thus began a large-scale preservation effort that would ultimately give new life to the fragile Tibetan heritage. The project was named Yeshe, which means Fields of Knowledge. After years spent locating and collecting the scattered texts of the Tibetan tradition, Yeshe reprinted the 108 volumes of the Kanjur, said to be the actual words of the Buddha, and the Tanjur, the commentaries by the great Indian Buddhist masters. This, the complete Tibetan Buddhist canon, was distributed to major libraries around the world to shelter it from future disasters. The printing was completed in 1981, yet it was only a very small part of a much wider vision. Here, 2,500 years ago, the Buddha attained enlightenment in the shade of the Bodhi tree. Here now, Tibetans gather each year by the thousands to renew their heritage at the annual World Peace Ceremony.
This is the place where the Buddhism was born, where the great prince has came through such a struggle and defeated all the ignorance and showed the path to the people. The liberation is possible.
For the past 20 years, the Tibetan Aid Project has funded the shipment of hundreds of truckloads of books for distribution at the World Peace Ceremony. Volunteers from around the world help to distribute them to the participants. For many, seeing how the Tibetans honor their heritage is one of the most moving experiences of their lives. What do these books contain? They span the entire range of human knowledge: philosophy, psychology, history, logic, but chiefly they contain Buddhist teachings on wisdom and compassion that are central to the Tibetan tradition. Over the last 20 years, 2.5 million books have been distributed here. Many of these ancient texts exist only in Tibetan and are available nowhere else in the world.
Many monasteries, they don't have such books. In some monasteries, it's very old that they cannot let people to open and read that because continuously reading, the books get spoiled up.
Especially we wanted to have kangyur. We do not have a kangyur before.
7-8 village together one kangyur.
Which is very old, which is coming from Tibet.
300 years before.
In villages throughout the Himalayas, teachers can now use these books to prepare lessons for their students. Possessing for the first time their own personal copies of key texts, nuns now have the opportunity to earn advanced degrees, a privilege once reserved for men only. With access to these texts, children can learn to read and write in classical Tibetan, opening up a body of knowledge not yet translated into other languages.
Now in Bhutan, so many people, they read kangyur. Every year I come here to collect kangyur, all books, and I take it to the monastery and even other these philosophy books. We have the students there, they are reading now. Now whatever they want to read, they take this book from the library and they read. Thangka is image of the Buddha. When we do meditation, it's very helpful. So we can look at the Thangka and we visualize it.
Offerings at the World Peace Ceremony include the distribution of books, art, and prayer wheels, the installation of bells and gardens, and the construction of a massive kitchen that will feed visitors as well as the poor and needy. But it is the ceremony itself that reveals the heart of the Tibetan tradition.
It's a remarkable confluence that is taking place here. The Sangha coming together, the sacred texts of the Buddha being distributed here, prayers for world peace, 10,000 people coming together in prayer is exalting some of the finest qualities that we have as human beings. Even if our prayers for world peace aren't immediately answered, we're affirming the value of world peace. If we didn't affirm that, then it would never be possible.
With thousands of voices rising in heartfelt melody, the message is clear. Caring for others allows us to move beyond our own hardships and grow beyond our limited concerns. The Tibetan Aid Project sends books to Tibetan refugees to help promote this universal wisdom and to help preserve the depth and richness of the Tibetan culture.
Life
isn't permanent. I don't know how long I will live. I'm just here talking to you just now. But in a moment I go away, in 5-10 minutes, I can be gone. You know, can't predict our life, sir. So when you leave, do something good.
As individuals, we each contribute in our small way. But gathering together, we can build a dwelling for compassion in the world. Compassion that opens the heart for the benefit of the Tibetan people and for all humanity.